Welcome back to Mile High Hoops. Today we're going to be talking about the Jazz. We're continuing on the Western Conference Expectations series. Today with the Jazz, we're going to be mostly talking about what I would do if I was the GM of the team because they are in full-on tank mode and their on-court situation is not going to be super interesting to talk about. We will definitely touch on it a bit since they do have a couple new slightly interesting players, but most of their season is going to be dedicated to trading off veterans and acquiring more picks. So that's what we'll focus on. So like, subscribe, and let's get right in. So we'll start off with the Gobert trade. We talked about that a bit in the other video, but we'll just make this quick. The Jazz received Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, which is a 22nd pick in this last draft, Jared Vanderbilt, 2023rd, 25th, 26th, 27th, and 29th pick swaps or picks. 26 was the pick swap. They're just loading up on as many first round picks as they can. Walker Kessler's a young guy for them. Balmaro didn't really play much for the Timberwolves. Beverly they already waived and he's on the Lakers now. Malik Beasley, I would assume they would try to trade him. And Jared Vanderbilt, really good defensive player for them. He's only like 23 years old, so I expect them to keep him and have him be a great role player for them. Now, they just traded Donovan Mitchell to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this was a much bigger trade. They got some better young players, I'd say, and pretty much just as much picks. Two swaps, though. So they got Colin Sexton in a signed trade, Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, which was the 14th pick, which we'll talk about him a good bit. I actually did watch a lot of the Kansas games in this last championship that they won. But they got the 2025th, 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th first round picks from the Cavs. The 26th and 28th are pick swaps. So those we'll see where those go. The other three were all first round unprotected. And so Colin Sexton's coming back from injury. We'll have to see kind of what he can do. He was averaging about 22, 23, I think, for the Cavs last time he played. I would assume that they'll let him just kind of run the court, see what he can do. And if he isn't really what they're looking for, they'll probably trade him in the next 2 years or so. And as far as Lauri Markkanen, he's still fairly young on a pretty good deal for a couple years. I would assume they'll kind of do the same thing with him, really feel him out, see if that's the type of player they're looking for. He's a stretch big. The Cavs were having him play the three, which is interesting. It was working for them, but I expect him to just be kind of going out there, shooting a bunch of threes, getting some rebounds, not playing great defense. But we'll see if he lasts over the next few seasons. I would kind of assume they would end up moving him as well. Now, onto Ochai Agbaji. He came in that trade package. He was the 14th pick. He's 6'5", super long arms, mostly known as a three-point shooter, and I would say mostly off of watching his run in the NCAA tournament. He had great footwork, coming off screens, really getting his feet set for threes, and then also catching it on those curls off screens with like good splits, ready to attack. Did pretty well on that. Finished with both hands. Was really shooting the ball well from all three levels, mid-range three, under the hoop, and his defense, like he wasn't always keeping people in front of him, but he's got long enough arms that he was always kind of freaking people out, coming from behind and getting those chase down blocks. ESPN actually has this really good player comparison, and they've got him mostly similar to Tim Hardaway. I think they're referring to Junior since it's 2014. They also list like Tayshaun Prince, Alan Crabb, Sam Decker, Sadiq Bey. But from watching him, I really think more of Mikal Bridges. He's kind of like a undersized three, super long arms, good shooter. He's definitely not going to be the on-ball defender that Mikal Bridges is, but he's got that wingspan where like guards and maybe some small forwards are going for shots off of like second chance rebound like attempts and thinking they're going to get a layup, and he blocks him from behind, or someone's taking a three and he's closing out and he gets some fingertips on it. And I think that length and stuff, he'll definitely be a pretty dang good role player. At best, I think Mikal Bridges will be his ceiling. I don't really see a world where he's a terrible player. I think another comp would maybe be like Cameron Reddish. Cameron Reddish didn't really get to see too much play in the NBA so far, but he was a pretty good 3-and-D player, and that's kind of what I see the mold for Ochai Agbaji. On to some of these other guys. The Jazz have come out and said that they're trying to trade Bogdan and Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. So I kind of scoured the trade finder or the trade machine to try to see where I would like place these guys. And I think the Mavericks would be a good fit for Bogdan. They have Davis Bertans, who's like a great shooter, but can't defend a parked car. So a trade like this, where the Jazz are looking for first round picks for all these guys, I would assume taking on a bigger contract, longer contract, wouldn't really hurt the Jazz because they don't really care. As long as they're getting that first round pick. And the Mavericks taking on Bogdan, who's still a great shooter, better creator, ball handler than Davis. Davis can only come off screens and shoot the ball. Bogdan can defend a little bit. He has some games where he pops off. I think he would be a better fit with Luka as well. It's funny how the trade machine has the Mavericks defense getting worse from this. I definitely think there's no way in the world Bogdan is going to make their defense any worse. To Mike Conley, it was a little bit harder to find a trade for him. He's kind of got a big contract. He's a lot older. And I think the Clippers would probably be the best team that I could find. They have Luke Kennard's terrible contract. I just threw in some random extra guys. They don't really have a first round pick to give up, but a lot of the other teams that I thought Mike Conley could maybe fit on, they didn't really have first round picks to give up. Most of it was from the stipend rule. And so I think that a package similar to this, the Jazz could be like kind of moved into taking a trade like this. Just get rid of Mike Conley, grab some second round picks, grab some guys that they can trade in the future, and just move on with this tank, clear that space so then people, their younger players, can step up and get more minutes. If you have any other ideas, let me know on this one. This one was a tougher one. And I only selected the Clippers here, mostly because of that Kennard contract. But since they just signed John Wall, they kind of don't know what they're getting with him. You can only assume John Wall is going to be decent again. Not a great shooter by any means, but great hustle player. Shoots the ball from mid range decently. Attacks the rim good. Plays good defense. But Mike Conley here would be kind of insurance on if any other players get hurt or John Wall doesn't pan out, because Reggie Jackson is going to be solid. And so he'd just be insurance for him and an extra body to play some ball, play some D, shoot some threes, run some pick and rolls for him. Now on to Jordan Clarkson. I really wanted to find a trade for him to the Milwaukee Bucks. I thought he would be absolutely sick on that team. They kind of need that guy to come off the bench to just get buckets. But the Suns were like a close second, and they still got first round picks to play with. So kind of the same setup. They've got a guy that's fairly young on a longer deal. Landry Shamet fills in just for money pretty much. The Jazz can play him or they can just trade him in the future. I don't see any issue with that. They get their first round pick. The Suns get Jordan Clarkson where he can drop 30 randomly, or he can just kind of come in off the bench and give you like 15 or 16. And I think that extra scoring punch would just really help them out. And as far as the Jazz, they're just adding picks as many as they can, and here they're just grabbing another one. Okay, so after all these deals, The Jazz will have loaded up on, I believe, 16 total first round draft picks from here till 2029. So they have their own 2023 pick this year. They have the least favorable first round between Houston, Brooklyn, and Philly from the Royce O'Neal trade. Minnesota's 2023 first round pick, and that's unprotected from the Rudy Gobert trade. Um, they would have the 2023 from the Suns if they made that trade. The second round from the Clippers for 2023 if they made that other trade. They do owe Charlotte their second round pick this year from the Elijah Hughes trade. Now next year, 2024, they owe their first round pick due to OKC for trading Derek Favors. It's protected 1 through 10. And in the next year, if they don't like trade off that pick, if it lands 1 through 10, then it'll go to 1 through 10 in 2025 and then 1 through 8 in 2026 before dissolving. And then the second round 2024, they'd also have that Clippers pick that was mentioned before. Oh, as well as the first round from the Mavs from the Bogdan trade. And then in 2025, they've got their own first round pick, Minnesota and Cleveland's from those two trades, their own 2025 second round. They've got the three first rounders in 2026 from their two trades in their own, two second rounders that year, 2027 their own, as well as Minnesota Cleveland like before. They own their second round that year. 2028 they own their own first round. And then they've got a swap with Donovan Mitchell trade from Cleveland. They owe their second round that year. And then 2029 again, they've got their own. They've got Cleveland's unprotected from Donovan Mitchell. And then Minnesota did actually put a protection on their 2029 first round pick. And it is protected 1 through 5 from that Rudy Gobert trade. And then they've got their own 2029 second round pick. So they are loaded up on the picks. So, what do all these picks mean when your team is terrible? Um, as of right now, next year's draft, everyone's looking at Victor Wembanyama, and you can only assume that that's what they're trying to go for is to try to draft this player that everyone believes is going to be a superstar. I could have a whole nother video on Victor himself, but he's 7'3" with like guard skills, kinda. I don't know where I sit on him right now. I need to watch more tape on him. But from what I've seen, I mean, he's definitely talented. He can handle the ball. He can shoot. He can do some Euro steps in transition and stuff. He's a talented basketball player. But the problem that I see is that he's 209 pounds in the NBA. I mean, he's just going to get bullied around. I mean, we're seeing lately these skinnier players come into the league and have success. Um, I definitely don't want to make any sort of prediction on him yet. Uh, when Giannis came into the league, he was super skinny. I mean, I was like a sophomore in high school. I remember watching him and saying, this guy's going to be the best player in the NBA. And after that, like, I hit on that one. But after that, I thought Thon Maker was going to be great. I really loved Bol Bol. And, I mean, as of right now, he hasn't really gotten much of a stint in the NBA. He was on the Nuggets and barely got any play time. But he did look pretty good when he was on the court. Now he's on the Magic. We'll have to wait and see. But for Victor, um, I will just we'll just have to really see another year of him playing ball. But I would have to assume that whoever gets the first pick is going to take him by far. Wrap things up. The Jazz are playing NBA 2K, my league, to the highest level. They're pulling an OKC Thunder and doing exactly what they did. We'll have to wait and see if it works. I would say this is how I would do it. I don't think that just staying mediocre forever is good. I mean, from a business side, like you're getting people in the stadium, people are watching the games, but who wants to continue to come watch your team when you constantly are okay but kind of suck. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I know how that feels. It's awful. I'd rather just have a couple years of absolutely blowing as hard as you can and then to maybe have some prospects to look forward to instead of just sitting in mediocrity forever. But with all that said, thanks for listening. And we should have another one out tomorrow as well, I believe. I think tomorrow we'll probably do the OKC Thunder, get some of these tanking teams out of the way. And just like, subscribe, let me know what can be improved on, and have a good one. Peace.